So the Shankar challenge for everyone is to overcome an area, a blind spot, which others may be able to see, but you can't see. And one of the signals is an area you have a lot of pride in, and you think you're very expert in. That's likely to be an area where you're blind. Okay, so that's enough. I like to begin every program by quoting Swami Muktananda, my Guru Baba, who always began his programs by saying in Hindi, Sabko Varasan Mane Ke Saath, Prem Se Hriday Swagat. With great respect and love, I welcome you all with all my heart. And he would never fail to say that the essence of spirituality is to welcome another person. Now that seems like the simplest and most obvious statement, and yet it's surprising how difficult that is, to welcome another person with love, and first of all, to welcome yourself with love, because the person that we spend the most time with and we travel with is ourselves. And it's extraordinary to see how many times we tear into ourselves with venom. We attack ourselves with self-hatred and so on. And the first obstacle to overcome is that. When I first was doing sadhana with Baba here many years ago, I discovered, to my shock, the extent of self-hatred that I have. And I realized that my sadhana was essentially about self-acceptance. I even wrote a piece about it called The Sadhana of Self-Acceptance, that I had to accept myself, all my different aspects, and only when I accepted myself could I move on to start to accept others. So first accept yourself, and then accept others. And then you've fulfilled Baba's command. So as I've been doing, these programs are dedicated to what I call my Ganeshpuri days. The time I spent with Baba in the early 70s, and we would have question and answer sessions with him. Sometimes as many as 3 times a week. We'd go into his room, and we would ask him questions, and he would answer them with a translator. Professor Jain was the translator in those days. And there were questions about every kind of thing, from spiritual issues to dietary issues. Think about those days. But first, I must salute the Parama Guru, the great Avadut, Bhagavan Nityananda. And here's a bit of one of the Chidakash Gita writings, or utterances, really utterances. The song of the Chidakash. Bhagavan Nityananda was the embodiment not of human consciousness, but of divine consciousness. The Chidakash, the space, the divine space of awareness, of consciousness. And his utterances came from there. They say that the Upanishads and the Vedas were channeled by rishis, by seers, who tuned into that higher level of matrika or verbiage or consciousness, and channeled that down from divine sources. Bhagavan Nityananda also was such a rishi in modern age, and everything he said came from that space of consciousness. So here's one of his utterances. He says, Atman is the self, inner self, is not perceptible to the physical eye. It is perceived by the intelligence. It's perceived by the inner intellect. He says, it's not perceptible as something with form or properties. To those who are identified with the body, it is difficult to find peace. It is difficult for them to see the Atman. So it's very easy to identify with the body. We're taught to identify with the body. So I want to try a little experiment. Here's a great statement, an aphorism, what we call a G statement. I am not the body. This is what all the great sages say. In the Vedantic tradition, they say that. So say, come on, out loud. I am not the body. I am not the body. Now turn within with that and say to yourself, I'm not the body. And inside. And see where that goes inside you, where inside your body and what it does to you to say that, I am not the body. Do you meet it with skepticism, or does it give you joy, or some other thing? Okay. Open your eyes. I'll take a few answers. What happened to you with that?
Liberation.
Who said that? Okay. What?
Liberation.
How did you experience that?
Just feeling free, not feeling confined.
The feeling of open. Okay, great. Yeah.
I thought it was hysterical.
It struck you as humorous.
Yeah.
But most things strike you as humorous, don't they?
Yeah.
How about I am the body? Does that strike you as humorous?
No,
dismal. It's actually a joke to think that we are the body. Say something about Baba, and I didn't think of it then, but one of the words about Baba was naturalness, sahaja. He was completely natural. There was not a self-conscious speck in him. He just was himself. And so fully himself, so vibrantly himself, was extraordinary. In your face, but gently, was full of love. So where were we?
I'm not the body.
What did you get from that?
Well, it raised the questions.
What am I?
What is this then? So I was contemplating what my real relationship to it was.
That's very good. It's well worth contemplating what our real, because scripturally, we've been put into this body. We've come from elsewhere. We've entered this body and we ride around in it like a vehicle. And at some point, on a blissful moment, we'll leave it behind. Everyone, as Kabir said, when I was born, everyone was laughing and I was crying. But when I die, everyone will be crying, but I'll be laughing. Anyway, all right, very good. So I got waylaid by Bhagavan Nityananda's words. Those who would not identify with the body, it's difficult to find peace if you think you're the body, because then you also think you're the personality and you're the ego, and therefore you get terribly slighted by everything people say and everything that happens, and frustrated when things don't go your way. And there are innumerable ways to bring yourself down, make yourself miserable. So Bhagavan Nityananda goes on, and this is a statement that I really like from it. Attention towards the visible should be lessened. Attention towards the invisible should be intensified. There you go. Be less involved with this world we see and externals, and more involved in the unseen world, which is not that it's unseeable, it's seeable by paying attention to it, the inner world. He says, as long as the mind dwells on the visible world, both pain and pleasure are seen. But in the invisible world, there's neither pain nor pleasure. So I think he's telling us something, a secret about him, that he lived in that inner world, or that invisible world. So think about that one. Attention towards the visible should be lessened. Just lessened, 1 degree. 1 degree less. Take offense one degree less. You can still get offended 99% of the time, but not 100. And pay more attention to the movement, the inner movement. Watch your inner being move during the day. As it goes up and it goes down, it gets contracted and expanded. It's a fascinating thing to watch how we react